Immediately, we went into rapid response. That meant calling detention and deportation defense lawyers through AFSC to make sure we had an attorney on the ground. It meant notifying the ACLU to make sure that people's civil liberties were protected. And it meant bringing translated materials, interpreters on the ground to make sure that people knew what was going on and that they were safe. We dropped everything we were doing, and we happened to get there just as ICE officers were leaving. Imagine what it looks like to walk into a work site that has a customer-facing storefront, floor-to-ceiling materials, products, displays, no one in that storefront except a single cashier, no one stocking the shelves, not a single customer in the aisle, and attached to it a distribution facility in a warehouse, aisles further than you can see, and about 10 people within view. This is a work site that employs about 80 to 90 people per day. We got there were 12. By the time we left hours later, 3 people had come back, there were 15 people total. People are scared. We knew this was going to happen. And what we learned from folks that stayed behind was that ICE walked in like it was their empire's own conquered land. They were heavily armed, there was no prior announcement, they were blocking off entrances and exits. They were scrambling up delivery ramps. They were banging down bathroom doors to make sure no one was hiding inside. And most importantly, as the mayor said, they did all of this without being unable to produce a single name or a single warrant. As you've heard by now, there were arrests, there were interrogations. In ICE's words, this wasn't a raid. You can look at their public remarks. They called this a targeted operation. This type of sterile language suggests that there was some deep intel and prior investigation, that it was a really targeted approach. There wasn't supposed to be any collateral damage. If this is such a sterile and targeted operation, why was a U.S. citizen interrogated? Why was a military veteran's credential and honor called into question? I'll tell you how something like this happens. ICE lies. This is an agency that was created in a post-9/11 period of rampant nationalism. They use fear and racism to justify their presence, to justify their profiling, and to justify their power grabs. These officers came in with guns and started getting into people's faces. They were terrified, as you would be too. One thing that we must keep in mind, this week, more importantly than ever, this hell of a long week, we have heard on the campaign trail that we're only going after the bad folks. We're only going after the illegal ones. But what we need to remember is those pathways that used to exist for someone's great-grandma, someone's old uncle, those no longer exist. Those pathways are now illegal. In fact, pathways that were legal on Sunday, like asylum, the Refugee Resettlement Program, DACA, TPS, legal a few days ago, illegal today. And what the mayor is saying is exactly right. ICE has overreach beyond what should be constitutionally allowed, that is allowing them to profile our communities, while also making everyone else guilty by association. If they can't deport and physically detain you, they want to detain you into the isolation of your own home so that you're disenrolling your kid from school, so that when you are sick or having a health emergency, you're too scared to go to the doctor. When your wages are being withheld from you, when your landlord is refusing to turn on the heat, you say nothing because, God forbid, that should put you on ICE's radar. In a lot of ways, we're lucky this happened in Newark. Our provider network is deeply resourced here. We have allies in local government. We have allies in the council, in the state legislature, and in our federal delegation here in Newark. That doesn't exist in other corners of the state. We don't know where else this is happening, but one thing that we do know is there's a bill in the legislature gathering dust that would provide the necessary protections so that folks don't feel detained in their own homes. We already have detention centers opening in New Jersey. We don't need to turn our community centers into de facto detention centers too. It's time to pass the Immigrant Trust Act so our communities have the confidence to stand up for the rights that they deserve, the rights that are part of our state and local law. I want to thank Mayor Baraka. I know he's been a vocal supporter of the Immigrant Trust Act. I want to thank our partners here. ICC and Casa de Don Pedro in particular have just been part of Know Your Rights trainings days ago. And there's so many folks in the room who can answer those questions about Know Your Rights and some of the speakers to come too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congresswoman LaMonica McIver.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I get started, I'm going to ask my colleague, Rob Menendez, who is here, my counterpart from the 8th District, to join me. So good morning, Mayor Baraka, City Council members, and all of the elected officials that are joined here today, all of the organizations, and to the press. I wish we were all gathered here under better circumstances, but unfortunately, we're not. The event that unfolded yesterday was despicable. As we've heard over and over again, ICE agents enter a business without a warrant, threaten community members, and harassed and held immigrants, citizens, and even a veteran of our nation's military. My office reached out to ICE demanding answers on how exactly yesterday's raid was allowed to take place without warrant and without justification. Still, no answers. They barged into our city to detain our neighbors. Trump's attacks on immigrant communities is now at our front door. Trump has literally been the president for less than 100 hours, and in those hours, he has signed a ton of executive orders, some that take aim at birthright citizenship, pause refugee admissions, reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy, and promise aggressive immigration crackdowns like the ones that happened here yesterday. And Trump's Department of Homeland Security has promised to remove protected status from sensitive areas to give ICE unlimited access to operate at schools, churches, and other locations that used to be protected. This is cruel. Some of these executive orders are unlawful, and our state, advocacy groups, and elected officials are already fighting back in the courts to protect our communities. Raids and attacks like what we witnessed in Newark yesterday does nothing to make people feel safer. People should not have to fear that going to church or school will result in their arrest or deportation. Parents who have babies in our country should not be told that their child who is born here is not a citizen. That goes against our Constitution. I understand the fear coming from our community, and I want to make it clear. I stand with you. Me and Congressman Menendez, we stand with you. Mayor Baraka, we stand with you. Many of our council members and all of our state delegation folks who are here today, we stand with you. We have to know our rights and stand together to protect ourselves and keep each other safe in these times. My office is here to help. Just yesterday, as news of the raid broke, I hosted an immigrant rights town hall where we spoke to over 5,700 constituents. We have community resources on our website, and we can help with casework inquiries with federal agencies like Department of Homeland Security and ICE. Both Congressman Menendez from the 8th and me from the 10th, we're here to help. The months ahead will not be easy. There are some challenging times ahead of us. Reports of ICE operations like yesterday's are popping up all across the country. But I am with you every step of the way. Many Republicans in Congress, and Congressman Menendez can attest to this, they support these disgusting Trump policies. As a member of the House Committee on Homeland Security, I will see the bulk of these anti-immigrant bills this Congress, and I will reject these bills. I will not back down from this fight. I will advocate for the protection of immigrants in the 10th District and nationwide. I want to make it clear to Trump and his administration that we mean business here in New Jersey. And we will not tolerate his hateful policies. We will fight back together to protect the most vulnerable in our communities, and we will win. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for the opportunity to be here with you. LaMonica, it's a privilege to serve with you, especially to represent both Newark and Jersey City together in the halls of Congress. I want to thank Mayor Baraka and his team for jumping into action once there was awareness of what was happening in this great city. I want to thank him and everyone in this room who's made Newark what it is. It's not just a city on the rise, it's a place that's inclusive for people from different backgrounds who can live here confidently, authentically, and knowing that their city has their back. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you to everyone, City Council, State Legislature, for what you do. I want to thank all the folks here who have been in this fight for a long time. I've gotten to know Amy over the last several years, and she's an incredible advocate in the work that she does, along with the Alliance. I want to touch on something that she said. We knew months ago that there was this false narrative that was perpetrating through our communities, that there was these faceless people that were all criminals as described by President Trump. But we knew here the reality, that these are people who are part of our communities. They go to our churches. Their children go to our schools. They are in our homes as healthcare providers. They are taking care of our elderly and our children. They are our neighbors, they are our friends, and they are our families. And so we have to speak up for them. We can't let them live in fear, because we know that that's what this administration wants to do. They want to instill fear in communities like Newark, like Jersey City, like Essex County, like Hudson County. There is no end to their cruelty, so we need to tell stories. We need to let people know what the truth is here on the ground. Both the mayor, LaMonica, and Amy have done that. We need to tell people that these people have been here for, on average, 15 years. That their children were born here. That their children, as LaMonica said, are American citizens. And we will not allow that to be questioned. We know our neighbors are part of mixed status households. So when they say they're coming for these people, they're coming for our neighbors. They're coming for the people that have made our communities what they are. And we cannot be silent in this moment. We will not be silent in this moment. And we will stand with them. And we'll be at the front lines. And there are a lot of hard days ahead. I have no doubt about that. But you're not in this alone. You have a group of people here who will be in that fight with you. And we'll be in the fight until this country starts to move in a direction that we know it should. One that is inclusive and reflects who we truly are as a country. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Congressman. Senate Majority Leader Teresa Ruiz.
If I can, point of personal privilege, just ask my district running mates, and I see my other colleague here to join me on the stage. Assemblywoman Shanique Spate, Assemblywoman Eliana Pintor-Marin, Assemblywoman Cleopatra Tucker, and forgive me if I miss someone, but so I think we should convene in prayer. I'm afraid. And maybe I'm tired and emotional. I don't want to be here as the Senate Majority Leader. I'm here as a mother, as a Norker, as a first-generation Puerto Rican born here, even though I have American citizen rights because of the relationship of the colony. I'm here with written notes because I knew this was going to happen to me today. Because you know what my biggest fear is? That this happens inside of a classroom. Okay, I'm going to get it together. This isn't about us and them. This is about this country. Do you know how many families and people run from fear where they were born and raised, where they're leaving generations of family members to come here to seek protection, opportunity, another day to improve the quality of lives for themselves, running from fear to end up in fear? This isn't America. I know everyone woke up today more anxious than they did yesterday. Immigration raids don't just affect immigrants. It affects us all. Children's, my daughter's classmates, our co-workers, and in many cases, people who we dearly love. They deserve to be treated with the same dignity and respect that we would extend to anyone else. This kind of action, as you've heard consistently over and over by every speaker, only serves to sow fear within communities. It sends a message that so many of us in Newark are proud of, to be from a diverse community, a vibrant community like Newark, or any community in the United States that's reflective of our ideas and goals, that we are hugely vulnerable. It's no longer just about undocumented families, it's about all of us. All of us who contribute to the growth and the wealth and the prosperity of this garden state. I want you to hear some numbers so that you can make this very clear. So that when there is a headline that identifies one moment in time, one that I'm sure none of us would support in those endeavors, that we don't lose sight of the 99% that is great, good, and God-driven. New Jersey is one of 6 states where undocumented immigrants contribute more than $1 billion in state and local taxes. They make 7% of our workforce. They make our local economies thrive. We must remember that we are a nation of immigrants, born from that direct story, a nation that was built by people seeking a better life for themselves and their family, a nation whose arms were open to say, come to us when you are afraid, and that now we are sending quite the opposite message. These actions are cruel and unjust. They're counterproductive. They're against the Constitution. They are against democracy. But fundamentally, they are against human beings' principal rights of just wanting to be good, to do good, and to do what's right. New Jersey should, go ahead. My nose is running. Anybody have a tissue? New Jersey should codify the AG's trust directive. And as co-sponsors of that bill, we will work diligently to be sure that there is a process in place. Because what has transpired has just created confusion. I would love to get some kind of marker today as to how many people didn't show up to work and what that does. How many school children are missing a day of academic success and growth because their parent was afraid to get on a bus and get in front of a school and drop their child off? I would like to see that impact. You see, some of you don't know what my dream is. My dream is to go play the Powerball and win. Not solely for me, although some of it. But if I could afford to cover and feel every undocumented family, make them safe for a day or two and just say, I got your back monetarily, I got your back legally, I got your back with policy and protection, but I don't want you to show up to work. Just so this country can see that their tropes and stereotypes are detrimental to the success of our communities, of this nation. So they can just see a moment in time of what the reality is versus the propaganda, of what the truth is versus dishonesty, of what love doesn't look like. And so I'll leave you with this. I'm one, but I am mighty, and I am powerful, and I am emotional, and I'm a woman, and I'm a mother, and I'm a Latina, and I'm a director, and I'm a Senate Majority Leader, but I am a Norker. My dad chose to come here different than the experiences of people, not with obstacles like other counterparts have had. His friends who were not of American citizenry had a pathway. How can you punish someone for doing what's not right when there is no direction to say, go here because this is what's right? And so I lean on my federal partners who are here and those who have made statements. I stand locked in arms with our mayor, who always has understood that human capacity is much greater than anything else, with my colleagues in the legislature to get this bill posted and passed and on the governor's desk. Thank you.
So I'm glad that Teresa got emotional so that I can have a little bit more time. Obviously, I was born and raised in the East Ward, and and I joke with the mayor all the time and a lot of the council colleagues. I know you all are jealous that you're not from there. But what makes the East Ward so special is the strong immigrant community that we've always had. When my parents came here, they were lucky. My aunt was here years before, and my aunt did a letter of calling for my dad. Or else, Mayor, when I would be born here, I wouldn't have been a citizen, according to our new president. This country gives the opportunity that nowhere else you have the opportunity. If you work hard, really hard, you can make a living. If you work really hard and you make sure that your kids go to school, who knows, you might end up being in a state legislature. You might even be able to run for something else one day. But the thing is that our children, as Senator Ruiz said, are not the culpable ones. They shouldn't be going to school in fear. 50% of appointments that are made at some of our FQHCs since yesterday to today have had cancellations. We need to make sure that our neighbors understand that they are fearful, and that's okay. But we cannot live in fear. We have to help them, and we are here to support them. I live in the Ironbound. I know where my neighbors are. I don't ask them for paperwork when I say hello to them or good morning or how are they. And when I moved into the new street, no one asked me if I had paperwork, but they all came to say hello to us. And that's what we're about. We're about neighborhood, community, and making sure that we're good. So I stand here in support of the mayor and our Congress delegation, and we know that we have work to do at the state level. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And I'm not going to cry either, but one thing I have to say is the mayor does not take long to take action when it comes to anything happening here in our city. And Mayor, I appreciate you for the action that you took the day after with less than 24 hours, and we know that we cannot do this without you. Today, I stand here with the mayor and our city in firm opposition to ICE raids. Their actions not only tear families apart, but also sow fear in our community. We will advocate and continue to show love to each other and every resident, regardless of your race, color, or creed. And I know I'm not in church, but one thing we'll say in church, look to your neighbor and say, I love you. Or look to, and you're sitting next to a brother or a sister. Guess what? We don't have to bleed and look the same exact way, but we are here today as brothers and sisters in support of our brothers and sisters. It's not them against us. It's not them against us. It's all of us together. And with the leadership of our mayor, we know that ICE have messed with the wrong city. He will not stand down. And Mayor, thank you so much for your leadership. We will continue to support anything that you need to do when it comes to getting ICE out of our city. You definitely have my support. Thank you so much.
I'd just like to let them know you have our support. And one thing about it, we have a bill in the Assembly and in the Senate. We're going to pass that bill because you have three in the Assembly. We're not just the average people in the Assembly. We're called the hellraisers in the Assembly. And we have our Senate. That's another hellraiser. So we have to let you know that Essex County, we got your back. We're going to do everything possible. We're going to get this bill passed. And we're just here to say that we're going to just work as hard as we can just to let them know what New Jersey can do and what the city of Newark can do. Thank you.
Thank you. La Casa de Don Pedro CEO, Peter Rosario. There you go, right behind me. You stand up here.
And I'm going to ask Hazel and Craig Maynard to join me. And we're at a time where we need each other, so we're going to stand together. And the majority leader asked a question. I unfortunately have the answer. At 7:15 this morning, a lifelong black Newarker texts her supervisor to say, please make sure you have this number and call them if I'm detained. Because in Newark, we know that it's not one person's problem. It's all 300,000+ of our problems. We did a training in schools, and we had to debate with 3- and 4-year-olds and infants and toddlers what the code was going to be. Is this going to be an active shooter code? Is this going to be a shelter-in-place code? What are we going to do? Will they leave their guns in the lobby, or will they bring their guns with them into our classrooms? These are the real questions that we as providers, we are not politicians. Our arena is service and the community. But we know that here are elected officials. I've been blessed to be a leader and a nonprofit leader in a lot of different places. And you have to tell the elected officials about your organization. In this city, they tell me about the legacy of La Casa de Don Pedro, about the legacy of ICC, about the legacy of UCC, because all of our organizations were founded by our elders in the time of community rebellion, and we are here to stay. You will see flyers, Know Your Rights, that we borrowed from Amy, and each one helps one. We've already told 3 school districts, just cut La Casa de Don Pedro off the top, put your school district label on it. Same thing across the country. Feel free to go to lacasadonpedro.org, Know Your Rights. The flyer is in 7 languages. We will be producing more languages. And we want people to know that there is a 4th Amendment. They have rights. I will say a few words in Spanish before I turn it over to my colleague Hazel. Para la comunidad, queremos dejarles saber que hay derechos. Y tenemos derechos, y lo que están oyendo en la noticia es contrario a este país. El país que nosotros conocemos, que nosotros amamos, que nosotros, los padres, si fueron nosotros o fueron nuestros padres, se puso en riesgo legalmente o sin documentos para venir aquí, para cambiar la vida de mejor. Y queremos correr la voz, ayudar a nuestros compañeros y compañeras, darle la información y estar seguro que nosotros vamos a estar con ellos y que todo el mundo vamos a sobrevivir esto. Porque siempre nosotros sabemos las palabras de Celia Cruz, cómo ella terminó sus canciones. Azúcar. All right? So for those who don't know the reference, Celia Cruz always reminded us, it sounded like a tagline in a song, azúcar, sugar, but it was really a mantra and a rallying cry for Latinos to remember that no matter how much you other us, no matter how much you make fun of our accents, the color of our skin, or who we are, we will bring sweetness, we will bring love, we will bring passion, and we are building the American dream every day in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Hazel Applewhite, CEO for Ironbound Community Corporation. As I woke up this morning, I woke up as an immigrant, right? And as I left my house this morning, actually my husband said to me, you ain't never left this house this fast before, and you're just like speeding out of this house. And I said, yeah, because this is personal to me, right? It is very personal. I was born in another country. My parents are from another country. My grandmother is from another country. My uncles and aunts are another country, and they all walked, right, this journey of being an immigrant in this country. It's heartbreaking. Ironbound Community Corporation is located in the Ironbound section of Newark. And like my other colleagues here, right, we provide a lot of services to the community. And it's very important that we spread the word and have the community understand that we are here for them, whether it's around knowing your rights, whether it's around services. Communities should not be afraid to leave their home. But by any chance you have a community member that don't want to leave their home, we're going to come to their home. Yeah. We are going to come because no one, absolutely no one, should be without food, going through mental health issues. Do you understand the trauma that families go through. You heard my colleagues and elected officials talk about the journey of coming to America and why some of these folks have actually came because of the trauma they're facing within their countries. And now to be faced with more trauma? Think about the mental trauma that they're having right now within their home. We're doing Know Your Rights trainings. We're doing food distribution. We're doing mental health services. If you need someone just to chat to, my staff is there. If you just need, your kid to be brought to school, because another thing we have to think about, our children are the future. And when you have your kids staying home, remember COVID. After COVID, our kids came back, and let's take a look at the literacy rate. Could you imagine now the impact of parents being afraid to take their kids to school? That's another setback for our future. And at the end of the day, I'm going to retire, and most of us around here are going to retire, but our kids are going to move forward, each and every one of us legacy. So it is very important that we understand the impact that this have on our children. So I am asking and pleading everyone to let's bind together. I love Amy's organization. We've been working with them on a Know Your Rights training. They were at our office, many times talking to us. As a team, I would say, La Casa and myself, we've been preparing for this for a very long time. And folks who told us that it wasn't coming, we just looked at them like, I can't convince you that this is coming, but I'm going to be prepared when it's come. So let's bind together. Let's understand where the resources is, and let's ensure our community understand what their rights are. That's very important. You have rights as a citizen, as a non-citizen, as someone who lives, works, and brings money into our economy. You do have a right. As a human, you have a right. Let's take away all the politics. Just as a human right, you have a right as a human. We don't want that. That's not what we are about as people. That's not what we're about. We're about caring about one another, binding together, resolving issues together. We don't have to agree about everything, right? But let's agree about one thing. We want to treat each and every one, and we want to be treated as humans. So visit our website, ironboundcc.org. Spread the word that Iron Bound is definitely here, and we stand in solidarity with our elected officials and the mayor of our wonderful, wonderful city. Thank you.
Yeah, so I am nervous. I'm nervous for this community. I want to thank Peter for giving me chills, because you pointed out that we're also dealing with in-school shooting, but now what happens? When a child goes to a school, they're supposed to be safe, right? We're supposed to nurture them, educate them, but now they're afraid. Maybe they're afraid of going home and nobody's home because ICE came there. And that's a problem. When your policy creates fear, and that's exactly what that policy is for. They're getting rid of DEI. Why? That was supposed to be a promise that we all have the equal footing. And so I stand with the mayor. UCC stands for this community, and we're going to be open, and we're going to be ready to help those communities that need us most. Thank you.
We almost there, y'all. We almost there. So I want to bring up the Municipal Council President, C. Lawrence Crump, councilman, from the East Ward, Mike Silva, and I know we have some other council in the audience. If you want to come up, please, while they're here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me first thank the mayor, not only for convening this press conference and his quick work, but for what he's been doing for every day, all day, for the immigrant population and the community and the residents of this city. We want to thank also, and let me introduce real quick my council colleagues who are up here. We have Councilman Dupree Kelly from the West Ward, Councilman Mike Silva, the East Ward, you right here. Councilman Luis Quintana, at-large Councilwoman Louise Scott Roundtree, at-large, and Councilman Aníbal Ramos Jr. from the North Ward. Right now, we're going through some troubling times. We have to worry about the Constitution being trampled. We have to, although the mayor and others have said it, and I'm not going to repeat everything that was said, we have to be concerned about what is happening, concerned about not just what happens to the folks who they're talking about who were raided yesterday in the immigration population, but the slippery slope that comes with it. Because if it doesn't happen to you today, it's going to happen to you tomorrow. And so you have to be prepared to fight today for tomorrow, not only for ourselves, but for our children. And as Senator Ruiz was saying, for our children and our children's children, because it's imperative that we do something now and not wait later. This sets a dangerous precedent. It's undermining the trust of law enforcement, and it's violating our basic principles of justice. You're not only just the legal aspect of it, but also morally. We are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. We are here to take care of each other. And if we don't do those basic things, what are we here for? We presume there's a presumption of innocence, and although this isn't necessarily a criminal matter, presumption of innocence. We all know what that means. But with ICE raiding, it's a presumption of guilt. They grab everybody up. Then they decide who comes forward and who doesn't. And that's not the way our country's supposed to do that. That's not the way I was raised. That's not the way we were raised. That's not the way this country was raised, was brought up through. There's a chilling impact I think this has on families. Again, it was spoken before, and I think it just needs to be addressed again. This affects your families. This affects your neighbors. This affects your friends. This affects your children's friends. When my son comes home, I don't want him to come home and say, Dad, so-and-so's not there today because something happened. His friend. Then I have to explain to them, an 11-year-old, what is going on in our country and why it's going to be difficult for his growth and his development and for the rest of his family and for the rest of his friends in the class. This raid, to me, this raid is a calling of action. From now on, it says, no more. We know 4 days ago, in 4 days, we see what's happened. We got 4 years. We can't wait. We have to address the issues now, and I'm so glad the mayor is doing so at this point. And we have such a good group of elected officials, appointed officials, those from the community who are going to work together. We're going to work together. The municipal council is going to work with our mayor. It's going to work with everyone to make sure that these raids do not continue. Whatever we need to do now. And just to end this, and I just wanted to stress this, some of these folks in the room, some of these folks looking at the camera, looking on TV, are saying it doesn't affect me. It's not going to affect me. But the reality of it is what affects one of us is going to affect all of us. So we all need to get behind and do what we need to do to ensure the safety of our community, to ensure the safety of our residents, who we love, and who are our neighbors, who are our friends, and who we care about and continue to care about. And that's all I just wanted to say today. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Silva. I am the councilman of the East Ward. I am a son of this city. I am a son of the East Ward. I am a son of the Ironbound. But most important, I'm the son of Portuguese immigrants who came to the Ironbound some 80 years ago to make a better life for themselves, to make a better life for me. I stand here to be a proud son of immigrants. And what happened yesterday in the Ironbound was a sad day. For those that are watching on TV and don't know about the Ironbound, the East Ward, was built on the shoulders and the backs of immigrants. For you who have never been there, come to a business in the Ironbound, a coffee shop, a restaurant. They're owned by immigrants. They're employees who greet you in the morning with a smile, who come to serve you a coffee or a nice lunch are immigrants. It's important that we know the sacrifices made for a lot of these people who are here today to get here. How bad must have been where they came from. They chose Newark, New Jersey. They chose the Ironbound. They chose the East Ward to make a better lives for themselves, to make a better lives for their kids. They're here working hard every day. And I'm just going to tell you this final story. Every morning, I'm woken up by the gates next to me by one of my neighbors at 4:45. And where is he headed off to? Work. Many jobs that a lot of us would never do, that we wouldn't get up for minimal wages. And this morning, I didn't hear that gate. Why? I texted him at 7 a.m., and he was still home because he was scared to go to work. Where is the benefit in that? Who benefits in that? So I'm asking that these people be treated with dignity and respect. They are here to make a better lives for themselves, for this family, for this country. And they respect our way of life. And they just want to be part of the American dream. Thank you.
American Friends Service Committee, immigration attorney Alex Goncalves-Pin.
Hello, everyone. I have the pleasure or displeasure of wrapping us up here and following all of my esteemed colleagues and all of our incredible elected officials. But before I proceed, I just want to acknowledge the volume of people in this room. In such dark times, it is so heartening to see the community responding in the way that it is. There is power in numbers. The numbers will grow, as will our power. My name is Alexandra Goncalves Peña, and I am legal director at the American Friends Service Committee Immigrant Rights Program here in Newark, where we have had the honor of representing immigrants in New Jersey in immigration matters for close to, actually over 30 years. Yesterday's ICE raids serve as a stark reminder of the profound impact that President Trump's attack on immigrants has on both immigrant workers, employees, and local businesses. While the event experienced yesterday was chilling, and it was chilling, business owners and employees need to remain calm and take proactive steps to protect themselves and their workers moving forward. That is why I am here, to share some important points that I am hoping that we can share widely with community members so that we can respond proactively, calmly, and as well as possible. Business owners and employees in New Jersey, take the time now to learn about your rights, the rights of your employees, the rights of your managers. Organize training sessions for all staff members. These trainings will cover the rights afforded individuals, including immigrants, under the United States Constitution, understanding the distinction between judicial warrants, subpoenas versus administrative warrants and administrative subpoenas. There are differences. We need to know what they are. Your rights under the Fourth Amendment, and importantly, the limitations on ICE agents' ability to access the workplace, because there are limitations. They cannot run roughshod. Following the training, implementing and maintaining strong workplace policies that safeguard workers' rights and ensure an environment free from fear of apprehension and deportation. If you do experience an interaction with ICE in the workplace and encounter ICE officers, document the situation thoroughly. Collect information, including the names of arrested workers, to assist families, and securing legal representation afterwards. We have to respond as a community. Time is of the essence. Connect with community resources. As my colleague shared earlier, notify, know your rights, right? Notify employee unions and local immigrant rights groups about any ICE activity. Maintain connection with your community response efforts to stay informed and supported. And importantly, and I will share this number a couple of times, if you know of an individual that has been detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, please, you can call our Deportation Defense Hotline at 973-474-9861. Again, this is for individuals that have been detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, 973-474-9861. We must acknowledge that the current climate of hostility toward immigrants not only jeopardizes individual lives, but threatens the fabric of communities and the businesses that sustain them. Yesterday, as I was speaking to some of the impacted individuals during the raid, many of them commented to me, what do they expect to happen? Are they going to do this again and again? Our city is going to shutter. We will not allow that to happen. As we face these challenges, let us stand together, business owners, workers, immigrant rights advocates, our elected officials, pass those bills to confront the violence directed at our immigrant community members collectively with focus and resolve. Thank you very much.
So I just want to thank, obviously, everybody for coming out and being a part of this pretty long press conference. But it was necessary, and then we thank you. And so we open the floor to the press for a couple of questions on this topic.
Mr. Mayor, obviously the warrant and the idea of it is a very big in the situation. Can you just tell us exactly how you know that no warrant was issued? And also, have you spoken, you heard back from ICE or HSI, and also with this local business where they came to? Have you talked to them? Have they given you anything, even like surveillance video that shows the ICE officials walking?
Our folks have had extensive conversation with the owner, with the people that were in there, with some of the community advocates that were there as well. So there have been extensive conversation. There is no warrant that anybody has seen. They didn't produce one then, and they haven't produced one still. So it would seem to me that they know that we keep saying there was no warrant, that they would have shown it by now. Right.
They didn't have permission to get inside, right?
They have no warrant.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to ask you, we do know that prior to the inauguration, there was a standing sensitive location policy that governed critical places like churches, hospitals,
right,
and schools. That changed overnight. What are the consequences for you leading a city of this size where you have responsibility to run those facilities? What are the things that you're doing proactively? And has Governor Murphy reached out to you or the Attorney General, Mr. Foster?
Well, I haven't spoken to any of those folks yet, and I'm sure I will. Folks from all over the country have been calling me. Senator Booker have spoken with me twice already about this issue. I've spoken to the superintendent of schools already about a plan that they should put in place at schools, what the procedure would be if ICE shows up at your school door. They need a warrant to go into a school as well. I was a principal of a school, so I know police cannot just come into the school without a warrant. We know this. They can't go into churches and do that, or any houses of worship at all and do that either. We have a Constitution of the United States that we want to uphold. We have this for a very specific reason, to guard us against illegal trespass like this, to guard our papers, our persons, our property from folks who may have a political agenda and seek to, come into our community and commit terror, because that's what happens here. And as everybody already talked about, there are a lot of folks in our community that are already terrorized, that feel afraid at this point, right? So it makes it difficult for us around health issues. It makes it difficult for us around educational opportunity. It makes it difficult for us to make sure businesses function. What's going to happen to the guy's business when people decide not to come there or not to work there anymore, right? So when the economy goes in the opposite direction because of this blanket of fear that we're throwing over everybody here, what are we supposed to do?
As a quick follow-up, during the pandemic, Newark stood out as fighting, bringing the community together. Are you concerned about the public health implications of this, that if you could have something like COVID happen and get traction, and people would be afraid to seek care?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, during COVID, thanks to some of the organizations that you see up here, they helped us get into hard-to-reach communities, to get people vaccinated, to get people tested, to reach into communities. And we had an incredible participation rate in the East Ward and other places in the community. Because I want people to know, too, like all over Newark, there are immigrants all over this town, right? Period, right? And so it's just not the folks that are afraid in the center part of the city or downtown. There are people afraid all over the city, right? There are West African immigrants in our community. There are Caribbean immigrants in our community, Haitian immigrants in our community who are terrified by what's going on, right? That's a huge population of the folks in the city of Newark. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, are you going to commit any public resources, any city resources to protect against future actions by ICE? And the Trump administration has said that they'll be prosecuting local officials who don't comply with it.
I heard that.
Are you afraid of being prosecuted?
Well, I'm not afraid of what these people threaten us. They threaten democracy. They threaten us individually and say they're going to arrest us if we stand up and uphold people's rights. I'm not afraid of that. And if he thinks that we're going to just go to jail quietly, he's got another thing coming. And he might have he got to send the right people to Newark. We'll have no problems. Yeah, so we already work with our partners here, and we will more likely try to help them do the work that they do. If we need to provide them resource and opportunity to do that, we'll do that. I think they're better at it than us. The proof in our relationship with Amy Torres and the organization got us moving on what we're doing today because of those relationships. I think sometimes government oversteps and tries to do everything. I think our job is to help resource the organizations that are out here working and partner with them and see if we can help them, whether financially or any other kind of way. But we want to do that, definitely. Yes, yes.
What's the name of the business that was raided?
I promised the business owner that I would not divulge his business or his name. Yes. Yes.
What is in place right now to prevent this from happening tonight or tomorrow night or the next night? Do you have any idea that no more places here in Newark are being targeted right now?
Well, no, we don't. And that's the reason why we're here. We don't have any idea what's going to happen. The precariousness of our lives, right now, is very obvious and clear that these people are willing to do anything at any time. What we can do, what we've shown here today, is mobilize ourselves to protect ourselves at any given moment, right? And I was telling my folks we met, I wish that I was in that store when this thing, when it was happening. I wish I was in that store at that time. I really do. I think we'd be having a different news conference today.
Mr. Mayor, what's the step is the city of Newark helping protecting undocumented immigrants for illegal immigration rights?
Yeah, we're working with our partners here who are doing that work already. We're going to support them. We're going to continue to support them, and we're going to continue to sit down with them. We've been working with them to try to make sure ICE doesn't move into a facility here in the city of Newark. We've been working collectively to try to prevent that, right? Obviously, there are people who work in City Hall who, without divulging, who folks are at the end of the day, that we have to protect. That we have to protect, right? We give people an opportunity because that's, as I said earlier, that's what they came here for, opportunity, right? My grandparents showed up here from the Carolinas with probably cornbread and collard greens in a brown paper bag and everything they owned in a box. Got off the train here, became a social worker and a postal worker my mother's family, a seamstress and a truck driver, trying to find opportunity for themselves away from Jim Crow South. And their grandson became the mayor of the state's largest city, right? So we relate to all of the things that we're talking about today. Yes, sir.
Is your concern primarily that ICE has acted beyond the scope of its authority by performing a raid without a warrant, or do you want ICE out of the city entirely?
Well, it is clear that ICE is violating the law, and we don't want them to have any detention center in the city of Newark at all. We don't want an ICE detention center in Newark. We don't want that, right? What we are concerned about, and what you should be concerned about, is the erosion of the Constitution of the United States. That is fundamental to this. And whether we're debating, because I can disagree with all of these people that are out there that are saying all this crazy, these tropes, these things that are just wrong and ignorant and foolish and ahistorical about immigrants and what they provide to this country. Because some of the people that are saying that are children of immigrants themselves, right? So who are saying these things, whose mind obviously has been eaten by this foolishness that has been put out here in this culture today. But ultimately, the fundamental thing is the minute we allow the Constitution of the United States to be eroded, that becomes everybody's problem. It's a slippery slope, because today they'll go into a store and violate those people's rights without a warrant and go in the back and get people out of there. Tomorrow they'll come to your house. What's stopping people from saying you're undocumented? What's stopping people from saying you're a criminal? For lining me up and say I just came here from Haiti, or I just showed up from another place. What's stopping people from doing that? Except the Constitution of the United States and the people in this room. That's it.
So are there circumstances in which...
Last question. This brother here. Go ahead. Last question.
As an immigrant, one of the reasons we are here is because we believe in the Constitution of the United States of America.
Right.
And the people of the United States of America. We will continue to fight, and we're going to continue to support one another, whatever you need. So we're here to give the support.
Right. I thank everybody. I'm not going nowhere. I'll be here, but thank you. Appreciate you guys. God bless you.
main card only, the one that has the audio and the here. If you don't mind bringing it back before I leave.